Yeah, perfect. Well, welcome everybody. Good day, good evening to everyone here. It's another week with the Rocket Pool Community Call, and a very exciting one today because we get to celebrate, I guess, the mainnet launch of NodeSet's Constellation project here that is also integrated with Gravitas minting capability here. And so I'm joined by a couple of special guests today. Joining me first from Gravita is rETH. rETH, good day to you.
Hello, good day to you.
And then also joining us from the NodeSet team is Nick and Mike. Welcome, both of you.
Hey, Ken. Thank you.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, always a pleasure here. And maybe let's start off here if we can a little bit. Let's start off with the Constellation folks. And I don't know, either Nick or Mike, whoever wants to maybe just provide a short introduction to what Constellation is and in specific what is happening today with Constellation.
Sure, I'll go ahead. So Constellation is the Rocket Pool's first layer 2. It's sort of how we refer to it. And basically, Nick and I were old school Rocket Pool community members from a long time ago. And we noticed a problem in Rocket Pool shortly after launch. Long before I think anybody else really realized that this was going to be an issue. We saw that there were a lot of really talented node operators coming on board to Rocket Pool that made it a great shelling point for technical expertise and Ethereum staking, a fantastic Ethereum staking community in general. But at a certain point, a number of people out there that have the amount of assets to bring to Rocket Pool to bond as a node operator and the skill set and the desire to be node operators, eventually we tap out those number of people. So Rocket Pool has slowly over the years started to stagnate and contract just slightly. I think kind of hitting sort of the maximum number of people out there that are really interested in the current situation with it. So there may be a boost with future tokenomics, but realistically there will always be a limit to the number of node operators who are interested. But what we did at Constellation was decide, hey, what if we liquidize that? So we take the node operator deal basically, and we expose that as liquid staking tokens in all through a non-custodial contract system that's taken us several years to build here, but we're very excited to launch it today. And now Rocket Pool can, without changing anything, begin to be totally unlocked and fully scalable.
And so even in NodeSet, there's kind of two sides to NodeSet, right? There's the node operators, which I'm guessing a number of folks listening to this call are probably interested in if they're not already registered to be a node operator in the beta test. And maybe we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But the other side to the equation is that now there is a liquid staking token that NodeSet, or I guess maybe I should say correctly, Gravita issues. Maybe can you explain a little bit about that, rETH, about what is xETH and XRPL and what makes them kind of attractive in this NodeSet model?
Would love to, yeah. So slight clarification, it's XRETH and XRPL. To just kind of denote the relationship to rETH and RPL. So XRETH represents the 8 ETH bond in a mini pool, and it's obviously liquidized and delegated to one of the NodeSet node operators. And XRPL represents the RPL side of the bond. Briefly, user comes, deposits ETH, mints XRETH, and let's say someone else deposits and mints XRPL. We send those assets to a member of the of the NodeSet. And they spin up a mini pool. What's really beautiful about this is it's kind of a why not both situation of it's highly decentralized compared to basically any liquid staking token other than rETH. Inducted into the node set so far is about 260 node operators, probably a lot of people here. In the order of tenfold more than, say, Lido. And then also, because the platform and the node operators are compensated with the underlying rETH commission. We charge 0% commission on XRETH. So that means that you're essentially getting solo staker level yield, but liquid. So XRETHs, 0% commission, highly decentralized. And then the thing that we probably like the most is, it'll, we think, make it a lot easier to drain the deposit pool and get Rocket Pool on a fast growth trajectory once again.
So let me ask a couple of follow-up questions here. I guess so. If I'm looking to hold liquid staking tokens, right? I guess am I correct in understanding now that XRETH, it's the first liquid staking token out there that doesn't charge a commission to the bearer of the liquid staking token, right? So you can hold it and obtain full beacon chain earnings on it. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So the way I've called it is it's the first sustainably zero commission OST. Meth from Mantle, I think, was zero commission for a short period of time. Same with Sweeth. There was kind of like a temporary, hey, we'll not charge commission for the first few months as a growth tactic. But this is the only one where we can sustainably, permanently charge that level because we have a way to compensate the node operators in a different way.
Okay, and then Shandon in trading asked a similar question. How does the yield on XRETH compare to the yield in rETH? Is it just that rETH charges a node commission of 14%, so you would expect your yield to be 14% less with rETH compared to XRETH? Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, that's roughly right. So Nick might have the numbers in front of him, but it's the last time I checked, rETH was maybe a little bit less than 3%, and the anticipated yield here is maybe closer to 4%. So yeah, it's basically the difference in that 14% commission.
Yeah, and I like how you phrased it: sustainably no commission.
Yeah, at current yields, it's about a 50 bip difference in yield.
Okay, perfect. And then, so we talked a little bit about XRETH. What about the XRPL? What would be an incentive or an advantage for a person to mint XRPL versus just holding RPL?
Yeah, so I think there's a handful of things here. So obviously, it's the only liquid staked RPL. So if you want to earn yield on your RPL, your options currently are basically lend it on Aave or run a mini pool. Let's say you're not a mini pool operator, but you have RPL that you want to use productively. We think this will be the most productive place to use it. So that's thing number one is this is the easiest way to get yield on your RPL. Thing number two, and this is obviously not tax advice, different people have different opinions, but for anyone who has RPL that maybe they want to be able to do some tax loss harvesting on, if it's at a lower price now than they purchased it at, if you consider liquid staking a taxable event, not everyone does, there's kind of a benefit there to convert. And I guess the last benefit is, it helps us unlock the, it helps us drain the deposit pool and unlock the growth of Rocket Pool because that RPL is important for bonding our mini pools.
Yeah, let me just add on top of that real quick. There are plenty of users of Rocket Pool who hold excess RPL and have it currently staked, and that's fantastic. They should continue to do that. However, if they would want to maximize the future potential of RPL, it may behoove them to consider XRPL, right? I mean, the more that RPL is used to directly bond mini pools, the higher long-term value that it will accrue for Rocket Pool in the end, right? The more cash flows that are generated through these mini pools, the greater Rocket Pool's terminal TVL or value will be under the new tokenomics of the future.
And then just right before this call, I think I saw an announcement that was saying that the The Gravita website is now updated, and people listening to this right now can actually go and mint. Can they mint both XRETH and XRPL? Is it live?
They can.
Oh, excellent. And then
It is live. Yeah, sorry.
okay, yeah, great. And then did I also hear maybe on Rocket Fuel yesterday, this morning, whenever that was, that there might be an incentive program for one of the mints, XRPL? And do you want to talk a little bit about that incentive to kind of kick off?
Yes, yeah, would love to. So it's actually XRETH that we're incentivizing right now. We think that that's likely to be the bigger bottleneck to growth here, is the ETH deposits. There's some other things, by the way, that we will announce in the future. But the current program that we're doing is kind of you might think of it as simultaneously an early depositor program and a kind of a referral program. So the way that it works is we will be taking a 35% commission to start on XRPL. And then we are going to give, depending on some system outcomes, we are going to give between 25 and 40% of that commission to people who do two things: mint XRETH in the first month, and then hold it for at least 6 months. And by hold it, if we onboard lending platforms, et cetera, which we plan to do, that counts as holding it. And where we fit within that 25 to 40% range depends on system TVL. So if we're at less than 10K ETH, we're at 25. When we're at 10K or above, it's 30. Nick, remind me what the other thresholds are. I'm blanking.
Yeah, the breakpoints are 25% reward share under 10,000 XRETH minted. From 10,000 to 25,000 XRETH minted, it's a 30% share. From 25,000 to 55,000, it's a 35% share. And then above 50,000 XRETH minted, it's a 40% share of RPL system fees.
That's right. Okay, yeah. So there's kind of two things that happen. If you come early deposit, in that first month, you're going to be sharing in this. But the size of the share of the revenue that you'll be getting in XRPL goes up substantially the more system TVL we end up getting. That's why I kind of call it like a hybrid early depositor referral program, because let's say at 50K XRETH, there's a lot more system revenues, and you get a bigger share of the revenues. And so, would love anyone who's interested to come and participate in that and help us grow the system. We'll share a few more details on this tomorrow, but we're going to give even a little bit more of a boost for anyone who wants to deposit, essentially in the first week. In the first month, you get exactly what we described, but you'll get a little bit of an extra boost if you deposit basically right away.
Oh, that's great. There's a question that Lee asked in trading, which is actually a couple of questions coming in here now. One of the questions, though, was with both the XRETH and the XRPL. Can you explain what happens if somebody wants to hold it? The question in the chat was, if you mint one of these NodeSet liquid staking tokens, either XRETH or XRPL, and you decide that you need to, let's say, convert it back or exit out of that position, how does one do that in a couple of months?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we will be building some DEX liquidity. So one thing you can do is swap, especially if liquidity is deep and not a lot of people have been swapping. And then the other is to go and manually unwrap. We will be keeping a portion of the deposits in an XRETH deposit pool to be able to facilitate unwrapping directly. And then if that were to drain, or say you're a very large user, you can actually, even just reach out to us. We have the withdrawal keys and the ability to actually, unwind validators. Obviously, you'd have to wait for the exit queue. But if that deposit pool got drained as people are unwinding, we'd have the ability to unwind further by spinning down validators.
So the intent is always to keep some exit liquidity available, and if it dries up, then you'll force exit some of the validators to keep that exit liquidity available for the LSD holders. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay. Let's. Are there any other things on the liquid side of the formula here on holding the Gravita tokens, or can we talk a little bit about node operators and when they might be able to spin up mini pools with NodeSet?
I see somebody
really
who's asking a
briefly
question.
on the.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, so really briefly to this question, Ken, just a couple of other quick things to touch on. For those who like to do DeFi things, we'll be working on both some DEX liquidity pools coming soon, and we're in active talks with a number of lending protocols. If you're interested in lending or using it as collateral to do looping or leverage, et cetera. So keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because most people of the liquid staking tokens will probably want to, add on top of that by engaging in some type of lending or liquidity providing or some DeFi activity. So that'd be really great to see the ecosystem for those tokens start to evolve. But I do recognize that will take a little bit of time. But excellent to hear that it's already in the works. And I actually just pulled up the website. It looks like there's more than $1 million TVL locked already. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I saw somebody asked a question on the XRPL side of things. Veterinary asked, how does someone who mints XRPL receive the yield / rewards? So this is it's a very similar answer to how XRETH works, but basically it's a liquid staking token that works just like rETH, where the value uses a value accrual design, where the value of the token is exchanged for a higher rate in the protocol based on the amount of rewards that the entire protocol has earned from Rocket Pool. So whenever Rocket Pool's native emissions of RPL are issued to Constellation, which again is just a set of smart contracts, then it will automatically adjust the XRPL price internally for how much RPL it can be exchanged for one XRPL. So the amount will increase to the point where XRPL is growing in value against RPL, and it is does so based on the amount of rewards issued by Rocket Pool itself to the Constellation.
That's the equivalent to the rETH token design.
Yes, yeah.
I guess one question I have on that is I know in the XRETH side of the house, that token holder receives 100% of the beacon chain rewards. But what about the XRPL holder? Do they get 100% of the RPL rewards, or is that prorated with some share going to NodeSet?
There is a commission on XRPL. So to start, it's a 35% commission, and then that's an important thing to remember when thinking about the early depositor programs, because it's that commission that we'll be using to reward early depositors that I described before. But yeah, that'll be the commission to start. We still think that it'll be the best yielding place to use your RPL if you're not using it in your own mini pool.
Yeah, and just to issue a quick distinction, NodeSet does not receive those fees. Gravita will be the treasurer for Constellation.
And again, just one last note, I think that in the long run, your RPL returns will be largely driven by price accretion versus the emissions of the protocol, and the best way to accrete the price is to put it to work in mini pools. So if you've got excess RPL, we think it's a pretty useful place to put it.
Yeah, very, very well said. I think it's going to be much more better rate of return having it being productive RPL than just holding it in your account, either unstaked. The advantage I think it gives you is a little bit of the liquid part of it, right? Assuming there's an exit liquidity pool, right? You can swap in and out of a staked RPL position without having to exit your own node. So that could be a little attractive, I think, to holders of that of that token as well too. And it looks like just looking at the website as Red, you might have foreshadowed. It looks like that's right now at least a little bit more attractive than the ETH deposit, but maybe it's just too early to kind of make predictions yet.
Yeah, I guess there's more competition for your ETH, I guess. And yeah, those are great points about the liquid side. And then the other point is, the XR ETH, some of the integrations will come faster, but we are working to get integrations for XRPL as well. So for those DeFi users out there, that's another reason to put your RPL and XRPL is we'll be working hard to get you as much DeFi utility as possible.
Perfect. Okay. Well, let's transition then, unless there's anything else we missed on kind of the liquid token side, the XRETH and the XRPL side. Let's maybe transition over to the node operator side, right? I know NodeSet has been in development here for quite a while, and it has had a beta test and I guess a mainnet launch with another product with Stakewise. But when will I guess mainnet be for the node operators? I don't know, Nick or Mike, you want to lead us through that and tell us what to expect?
Sure. So this is actually ongoing as we speak. We are getting ready to release the stable version of Hyperdrive version 1.1.0, which contains full support for Constellation on mainnet. We've had several betas that were available for Constellation on Holeshki for a few weeks now, but we are very excited to be releasing the actually full, complete, 100% ready to go version of Hyperdrive today. It should be happening as we speak. I believe Joe's in this call hacking away, trying to get the build uploaded and everything. So it should be happening momentarily, basically. So just keep an eye out, and it'll be there very, very, very shortly. You'll be able to go ahead and launch your mini pools. Oh, there he goes. Literally right now, Joe. Just thank you, Joe. Perfect timing, my friend. He just posted the announcement. Yeah. All right. So if you're a NodeSet node operator, the time is now. Do it right now. So in that spirit, I'm going to go ahead and yeah, I'm good with that, Joe. Just post it.
I was going to say, of course, you would do it right in the call where everyone else is furiously typing away on their keyboard, updating their client software, and I have to be on here hosting it. But that sounds excellent that it's really going to be that fast on here. Now, one of the questions I did see in trading here, and feel free to repost any questions here, as trading's got a lot of questions here. But one of those questions is for somebody who's kind of a little late to the game. They haven't been a beta tester here with NodeSet, but they want to become a node operator with NodeSet. How do they go about doing that? When do you expect the next admissions into the NodeSet operator set? Tell us for folks that want to become a node operator but are not yet a node operator.
Yeah, so I can touch on that real quick. I'm going to be running another run of the apps pretty shortly here, and probably start setting up interviews next week. Now that we've got this out, would love to onboard as many people as quickly as possible. As we've said before, we are incentivized to spread horizontally and distribute stake. So we'd be more than happy to get you onboarded sooner rather than later. You'll need to quickly run through a single validator deployment onto Holeshki to ensure that you can go through the steps, and then from there you'll be eligible for mainnet deployment.
And can you remind the listeners what the minimum qualifications are to become a node operator?
So we'd like to see a minimum of 6 months of ongoing validation history on mainnet. We'd also like to see a rolling average of 95% effectiveness over the last 3 months, as measured by Rated.network with their Raver score. It's a sort of custom algorithm they've created to assess validator performance. You got to hit 95%, and if you hit those two things, you would then follow through with a short interview with myself or someone else on the team. We just make sure that you know what you're talking about. You indeed are running the node that you say you are, and well, once you go through that, we'll get you onboarded, and you'll be ready to run Hyperdrive on testnet.
Okay, and then a couple other questions that are coming in. I guess one of the questions that we've seen a lot of, even seen Vitalik talk about, is the capital requirements to become a full Ethereum validator node operator of 32. Right, Rocket Pool reduces it to node, a capital requirement for the node operator down to 8 ETH. Right. NodeSet, what capital requirements does the node operator need in order to form a mini pool if they're selected to be an operator with NodeSet? What capital requirements do they need?
So for the next 2 weeks or so, until the ETH only mini pool change comes through, you will need to put up a 1 Ether bond to basically secure the validator over the course of the scrub period. That's about a 15-hour process, I believe, and then that 1 Ether is reimbursed to you. Once the ETH-only mini pools change comes through, assuming it does, that will have to raise to 3.4 Ether, unfortunately. In the farther future, when the system is larger, we've got more general security of the system, we could think about maybe tweaking that. But for the time being, we do have to raise it, unfortunately, and we recognize that this isn't ideal, but unfortunately, it's a necessity at this point in time.
So maybe we break.
So you could say, oh, sorry. You could say it's 1 and then a 3.4 temporary bond, but 0% or 0 bond kind of after that, after the reimbursement.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it's really only for that scrub period, right? Which is just it's kind of a Rocket Pool term that it results due to kind of an interesting. I don't know, call it exploit, a potential exploit that could happen with the beacon chain deposit, right? So the node operator needs to place that at first in order to secure the withdrawal credentials with the beacon chain, and then after that, NodeSet will refund that temporary deposit, as you called it, right?
Nicely.
Yep.
And so if I'm following correctly here, Rocket Pool will anticipate its Saturn Zero launch. That's what provides ETH-only mini pools. It will do that on October 28th. And so really there's kind of this window between now, or as soon as Joe posts the latest client up on the repository, right, between now and sometime on the 28th, right, the deposit's only 1 ETH, and then it will go up to 3.4 ETH?
Yes,
that is correct.
But in all cases, assuming there was no exploit or intentional malfeasance, the node operator would get that back immediately, right? Or 15 hours later, right? So within a day, they would get fully refunded that deposit.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Now, what other things will Saturn Zero do or have an impact on NodeSet? Are there any other things that a potential node operator with NodeSet should consider? I mean, one thing I have been seeing is, certainly now with gas prices that seem to have kind of a daily pattern. They're very busy during the U.S. daylight hours, and then overnight they tend to drop down a little bit on Friday night, Saturday morning. They tend to drop down. There's a little bit of pattern. It certainly makes, I think, sense for NodeSet operators to deploy their mini pools at a lower gas window. But any other things that a node operator should consider with the imminent Saturn Zero coming up?
We can talk about gas prices briefly, because one thing that we actually haven't talked about yet, and Rhett, maybe you're the best person to talk about this slightly, but I think Gravita is very familiar with the problematic gas environment for node operators. One thing that Rocket Pool, I'll speak to the technical side of why this is the case, and then Brett can finish it up here. But the gas prices are very touchy for creating mini pools because it's extremely expensive. Creating a mini pool costs 2.3 million gas, unfortunately. And this is mostly due, the vast majority of that is at the base layer of Rocket Pool. So megapools will eventually improve this, but it's quite a ways away. So for now, people need to be very careful about when they get these gas prices in, because the cost for creating a mini pool or getting these transactions in, because the cost for creating a mini pool it can be quite high. So I would definitely not YOLO it and just throw it in at 50 Gwei, or it may be a very long time until you make your money back. However, Gravita has noticed this and knows that in order to make Constellation successful, the node operator set will need to be encouraged to create validators. So therefore, they're going to incentivize the creation of validators during the first few weeks of operation. So, Rhett, do you want to talk about that really briefly here?
Yeah, sure. So as you stated, we want to make sure that obviously, unless we're at like 1,000 gas or something, 1,000 Gwei gas, if we're in the reasonable range, we want it to still be make sense for people to be spinning up mini pools. We don't want to be just sitting on a bunch of ETH waiting. So what we're going to do is for each validator, we're going to do a 5 Gwei gas incentive. We will be reimbursing that to you in December for each of the validators that you spin up in the first month.
Yeah, exciting. So for current reference, gas is roughly 9.7-ish Gwei, 10-ish. So that would Nick made a spreadsheet as to how long it would take you to earn that gas back as a NodeSet node operator, and it is, I think, Nick, do you remember the numbers? It's like per Gwei, it's 15 days or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit less than 15 days per Gwei. I think the current beacon yield with MEV included is sitting around 3.35, 3.45%. So yeah, at that APR, you're looking at about 14.7 days per Gwei. So yeah, this 5 Gwei incentive will be really helpful to ensure that folks feel comfortable deploying validators. Like right now would be a great time.
Yeah, it is a great time because that 5 Gwei off from this is 5. That's roughly 5 Gwei, and 5 times 15. It's not too bad, right?
It'll be paid off in a little bit over 2 months, and then you're just in pure profit.
Yep. And obviously, it depends on how many assets we have in the system. But currently, node operators will start out with the ability to create one mini pool at a time, and then it will. We may increase it depending on demand for XRETH and XRPL.
And so maybe can you talk a little bit about that, right? I think you've got roughly about 300 already registered node operators with NodeSet, and what's the ideal? Just as they register their node and create mini pools, they're going to be limited at one, and it will just kind of round robin through the list, or is it first come first serve until you increase that number? Can you kind of explain that a little bit more?
So for every validator increment up, right? Let's say there's 100 node operators. We increment up from 1 to 2. That opens up 100 new validators worth of capacity. Within that 100 validators, it's sort of a first come first serve. There's not like a specific round robin algorithm kind of thing going on. So there's a slight amount of competition, but if we're incrementing it slowly, it's not like someone can put through 15 mini pools by spending a lot of gas, right? You can only deploy mini pools in a serial fashion due to security constraints. So, we can't let you parallelize validator deployment as much as we would like to. We would love to be able to do that, bring in 15 ETH, enough to bond 15 validators simultaneously. That would have been great, but we just can't do that for security reasons. Therefore, it's a serial deployment process, and as long as we are incrementing methodically along with TVL growth, I think that we'll get a really nice even distribution, and we won't have lumpiness in the validator and the node operator set.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll give it a second for everything to sink in. It's I guess maybe a tremendous achievement for you three in here. I mean, it's been a long time you guys have been working on it, and I'm just kind of a little bit stunned here to realize that you're live on mainnet, the deposit pool. You can mint the liquid staking tokens, and the clients out. I imagine it won't be very long until the first mini pool, NodeSet mini pool, is formed, right?
It has actually already happened. So for testing purposes, obviously, we had to create one. We would never want to release something that we felt was not ready. So we have ensured that there was at least one safe one created on mainnet, but it doesn't really count because it's sort of a dev one. And I will say actually though, while we have been speaking on this call, today.eth has the honor of being the first person to create a Constellation mini pool. So congratulations, today. I think you were on this call.
Big golf
Cheers
clap
to you.
today. Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to quickly thank everyone.
But I'm second, really. Someone got before me for 5 seconds, according to Ethereum.
Oh.
But yeah, going to.
Well, I'm sorry for calling you out, but congrats on being the second one then.
I just quickly wanted to mention big thank you to everyone in the community here who's participated either as a node operator, supporter generally, the Rocket Pool team obviously for all their support, and for some of the folks who've invested in us over the last year or two. We wouldn't be here without you. I like we just said, can't really believe we're here. It's been quite the journey, but we're incredibly excited and really want to deliver for the community and the Rocket Pool team.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I certainly opened the call here to anyone else that has questions. Feel free to put them in the chat. Looks like everybody's trying to figure out how to update their client, including myself in there. But for the NodeSet and Gravita team, anything that we haven't covered yet that you feel is important for the community to know?
I would just say we really appreciate you all. Thanks for the moral support. Thanks for the PVL support. Thanks for joining the NodeSet. Our goal is to just help the system grow as much as we can, both in size and in distribution.
And for those of you who are involved across the crypto ecosystem, either in other governance organizations of different protocols or are just enthusiastic users of various DeFi systems, we are more than happy to chat with you about where you'd want to see XRETH and XRPL deployed across Ethereum or any of the L2 ecosystems. And of course, any referrals when it comes to either DAOs, treasuries, large holders who may be interested in these sort of yield optimized ETH and RPL products. Send them Rhett's way, right? So we should all be successful together.
Congratulations, guys. Awesome.
Thanks, Langers. Any last questions?
I'm skimming through here. There is one. Will there ever be a token for NodeSet?
Not in the near term. It's something where if we were to think about it, it would need to be a integrated thing into a larger set of products and services. So not in the near term, but someday perhaps, if it makes sense. And the regulatory environment isn't as nightmarish.
And then will there be a POAP for the first 100 mini pools on NodeSet?
That is a question for Schifrin. I believe is on this call. So pressure's on, my friend.
Yeah, I see him in trading. He's on the call too. Yep.
Sure.
Whoa, unfortunately, we cannot. To answer your question, if you staked all your ETH, can you allow XRETH for the 1 ETH requirement? No, we cannot.
Yeah, we'll have to create some type of lending protocol that lends the 1 ETH and then people could return it the next day, huh?
You could.
It's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, it's
short-term lending. Yeah. And in the future, something like XRETH as your temporary bond is also a great idea. But yeah, just it's not something that's going to be supported in any time in the near term.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think we've covered quite a bit of the hyperdrive and NodeSet launch here. It's just exciting to see it kind of work, and I guess we're slowly but surely chipping away at the rocket pool deposit pool here. Any of you have kind of projections or expectations of what to see in the coming 2 weeks here in terms of the growth of NodeSet, or is it pretty much just reserved and you're going to see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to high-level generalities. We've commitments in the single-digit thousands of Ether over the next few weeks. What the community will do, I have no idea, and what the wider crypto community will do, I'm not sure. We're hoping that there's plenty of engagement. There are a number of very substantive holders of Ether in the ecosystem who want to use XRETH, especially for looped staking, hyper-staking strategies that requires integrations and sufficient borrow capacity across venues. So that is a longer-term journey for us, but that unlocks tens of thousands of Ether. It's just a question of when. So the future is bright.
The future is very bright. It will happen. I think we're going to get a lot of Ether into this. There's obviously a lot of folks that have really, really big wallets that they don't just jump in, day one. But they're very excited for something like this. One thing that I've heard a lot as I've spoken to a number of folks around the industry is, every bit matters when it comes to returns. So if you have a lot of Ether and you're engaging in, sort of complex DeFi strategies to try and grow your yield as much as possible, having a base layer staking token that gives you the most return possible it's a pretty big deal, and that's why, we've consistently seen some of these LSTs with the higher returns, do really well. And that's also why we've seen a lot of LRTs do really well, even though, they may not actually have real yield backing those right now. They are still sort of able to kind of trick it basically in the short term. So, but one of the really wonderful things about this system is that it is completely sustainable. It does not require anything other than Ethereum staking and Rocket Pool, both of which are obviously very stable at this point. Hopefully Rocket Pool, continues to remain stable as well, despite the changes that's happening. But, Ethereum and Rocket Pool have been able to change multiple times and remain operational. So that's a good sign. So, from here on out, I expect to see, a slow trickle of lots of volume coming in over time. It won't, it's not going to be, I doubt we'll see 100,000 Ether deposited tomorrow, but I think that the deposit pool being full is something that we'll all look back on and think, wow, remember when that happened and when we were all freaking out about that? Well, I guess that wasn't something to worry about at all.
Yeah. Very, very, very good points there. Well, again, congratulations to the NodeSet and Gravita team here on the successful launch, and I'm going to be looking very much forward to upgrading my client here once I get a little bit of tech support on that, and then going ahead and getting into queue to form my my NodeSet mini pool here.
Awesome. Well, just to close this out on this call with some numbers, which I think everybody's going to want to hear. We have doubled the TVL in XRETH in the last 40 minutes. It went from about 200,000 to a little over 400,000, and now we have, I think, 4 mini pools in queue. So that's really exciting. If you want to start earning and you're not a NodeSet node operator, go to nodeset.io/join and you can be part of that queue.
Excellent. And I see we still got Langers with us here. Maybe, Darren, if you have a few minutes with us, you want to give us just some updates here about Rocket Pool in particular. A lot of chat here. We saw the latest release client for Rocket Pool, and there was a question about when version 2, and what is the latest with the Saturn releases.
Hey, yeah, cool. I can give us an update. So maybe I'll start with V2. So V2, as I said, I think I said in one of the other community calls, we were investigating like a deviation in the reward tree between V1 and V2. To be honest, where we're at with V2 is I don't want the team to be focusing on V2 when we've got to get I know this is confusing, but we've got to get the V10 reward tree spec out. So at the moment, V2 is paused. I'm still on the fence about whether we get out like a release candidate version. We've kind of like tested it and we're perfectly comfortable with V2. The only thing that we're not completely comfortable with is the reward tree stuff. So we just need to go through and do some side-by-side testing of the reward tree stuff to make sure that there's no deviations there. And because there is quite a deadline for the version 10 reward spec, that's the reason why I'm kind of like I'm not promising V2 before that V10 reward tree spec, because I don't want to distract the team with getting that stuff done when they need to focus on, or particularly patches, but we need to focus on getting that done. So as I said before, we may release a release candidate, but it will probably have a massive caveat to say that the reward tree stuff is not. We haven't fully tested that part yet. So that's where we're at the moment. I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to put pressure on them to get V10 out and that out at the same time. So that's probably V2 is very likely to be after V10. We've got the majority of the V10 reward tree spec work done, which should be in the next few weeks. So that's the V2. So then we've got Saturn 0. So Saturn 0, as I said before, actually Immunify has been updated now, and Sigma Prime's public repo has been updated now. The audit reports have been made public. We put out the contracts to be verified. Patches did that a couple of days ago, and so they're basically that we verify them against source control.
And are we still looking for a launch of? I saw that both the votes since last we spoke, both votes passed. They did vote also to remove the cliff, right? That had passed with a strong majority. And then, are we on track for the date? I didn't make it all the way through my rocket fuel. Did you even announce a time on the date that it's going to launch?
Yes. So. We actually raised the the ODAL proposal on Monday. So that's ticking away now. So that's the 7-day delay between raising the ODAL proposal and the ODAL being able to vote on it. So they will be able to vote on it from next week. And so they'll be able to vote from it from next week, as long as we can get that kind of like voted in, which usually that's pretty quick to get that voted in, and then we will execute the upgrade on the 28th, which is when we said we were going to do it. we were going to we'd do it at the usual time that we usually release, which is midnight UTC, which is actually 10 a.m. our time. We'll execute the update. We'll probably leave it a couple of hours just to let the contracts settle in. That seems weird, but just to let the contracts kind of bed in, and then we'll execute the actual parameter changes for RPIP 62. So that is, yeah, so that's those elements. That's the immediate term. So yes, so on the 28th of October at midnight UTC, basically that stuff will start going live. And then we've got the V10 spec change, which Patches is working on at the moment. And so that's in development at the moment, and hopefully we can get that kind of code complete within the next couple of weeks, so that we can start testing it on testnet, and then eventually, hitting mainnet.
And then can we talk just a little bit about once Saturn Zero is out, a couple of things that I think I saw in trading that maybe not everyone knows is, so the commission will change for everyone, right? Whether or not you stake RPL or you don't stake RPL. So that once Saturn Zero comes, the commission goes from 14% down to 5% plus some bonus commission that's issued via the rewards tree. Am I understanding that correct, or can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so there's some subtle things there. So for existing node operators, nothing changes. Existing node operators, they with mini pools deployed, their commission stays the same. Whatever commission you had locked in, whether that's 14% or whether that was the old school 16 ETH 20%ers and all of that sort of stuff, your commission stays the same. The only thing it changes for is for new deposits. So new deposits will have a commission of 5% going forward, and RPL staking will be optional. Again, if you're an existing node operator, you'll still be kind of under the withdrawal limit. So you won't be able to withdraw your RPL until below the withdrawal limit, which is 60% of the bonded ETH. That'll still be the exact. So basically, for current node operators, it's exactly the same, except because the cliff is being removed. Once V10 comes in, the V10 reward tree spec comes in, you will start receiving RPL rewards. So that's the difference for existing node operators. For new node operators or node operators with new deposits, you'll be able to deposit without any further RPL stake, and you'll get 5% commission until again the V10 reward tree spec comes in, which then your commission will be boosted based on your RPL basically.
And in the case of, let's say, a new node operator or an existing node operator that forms ETH only mini pools after Saturn Zero, so after October 28th, assuming the launch goes off as expected, do they have to be in the smoothing pool to get that bonus, to get the bonus out of the rewards tree, or will the rewards tree provide that irregardless of smoothing pool or non-smoothing pool?
No, that is a very good point. So to get the reward tree, to get the commission boost, you need to be in the smoothing pool. That is a very good point. Yes.
And is the bonus boost that you get, is that denominated and paid out in ETH, or is it paid out in RPL?
It's paid out in ETH.
Okay. And then will there be, I know we're, kind of approaching that launch window, but do you expect any more Medium articles or kind of some clear instructions? I'm somewhat envisioning another maybe a short, use command from Valdorf on kind of these things, because I think we're going to get that question over and over again in the coming weeks and before and after Saturn Zero.
Yeah, so depending on we're working a little bit with the GMC, or we're having a chat with Schifrin. I don't know whether this necessarily covers it. Well, we are going to be updating the documentation, so we're working through that, or we will be working through that in the next week or so. Update documentation, but we're also kind of working on a landing page. We'll be working on a landing page for ETH only meeples, so that may well contain a lot of that information. Again, it depends on what the goal of that landing page is, but it would, from my sense, it should probably be a TLDR of Saturn Zero. So, in which case, that to kind of steer people to pull the trigger on that. So, that's what we're kind of working on as well, with the community and Mav as well.
Okay, excellent. Langers, anything else from your point of view that we haven't covered? I do want to maybe ping Mav a little bit just about DevCon, or maybe you about DevCon, but anything else besides DevCon that we haven't talked about that you want to bring up with the community today?
I mean, they're definitely the most immediate term sort of things. As I said, work on Saturn 1 is progressing really well. So we're doing a lot of the deposit stuff at the moment. That is going really well. We're kind of starting from the node side of things now to kind of so that we can get things working or exercising the code for end to end. I'm working with the team today and a little bit this week to determine, at the very least, the first DevNet release in terms of being included and a rough, and we'll be able to deliver that. And then ideally, I'll be able to kind of scope out the following DevNet releases as well. I won't necessarily have times for those, but we'll be able to kind of scope out what's going to be in those, because we've got all of the tasks kind of broken down, so I should be able to line that up. But yeah, so that's what we're working on at the moment.
Yeah, two follow-ups on that. I think last time we were talking, you were noodling about two things. One of them was maybe releasing that Trello board or your milestones. If you want to comment any more about your thoughts on that. And then second, you were maybe optimistic, or maybe I was just reading too much into it, about maybe Saturn 1 might come earlier than you expected, that we were a little bit farther in that roadmap. Any further thoughts on that?
In terms of the milestones, I want to try and get out our plan for the milestones. We're still targeting basically Q2, Q3 next year as our goal date, goal timing, or delivery timing. In terms of the milestones, I'll have kind of I want to try and put some dates on them, but the further they go out, the less sure I am of them. So the main one that we'll be targeting is DevNet 1, which will be could be DevNet 0, I don't know. It will be the first DevNet release, which will include kind of megapools and deposits and that sort of thing. I think it's too early to say whether Saturn 1 is going to be early or not. We are making significant progress, so I'm definitely a lot more confident than I was before, mainly because we're starting to get into the work now. But it's too early to say whether it's going to be early. But I do want to, by the end of the week, get out a little bit of information on what the milestones will look like, and then a kind of like an idea of when they will come.
All right, exciting. I think that would be really great to kind of see the milestones, and it could form the basis of a lot of conversation both here in the Discord as well as in Thailand. And it'd be really great to actually kind of see. I know it's always so hard to predict when things are going to launch, but I'll still be optimistic, thinking that we're maybe a little farther ahead, and that launch might be sooner in the new year than later in the new year.
Yeah, I mean, things are going pretty well so far. But with software development, it's usually the unknown unknowns that cause the time to kind of like expand. So, but as I said, things are going quite well. It probably helps that the Saturn work, the majority of it, there's not really anything really new and funky, apart from maybe like the proofing system that we've got at the moment, which is kind of innovative from that perspective. The rest of it is kind of like logic. It's kind of like it's a lot simpler than so it's less risk from that perspective. Is what I'm saying. So as long as we can make sure that we de-risk this proofing stuff, which we're doing at the moment, then we should be pretty good.
Okay, and then just to kind of, as we start to wrap up here, maybe just a few words about Thailand and DevCon. I don't know if either you or Mav have any thoughts. Mav, I saw you had a poll about doing Rocket Pool community meetup on a couple of dates, if you want to talk about that. And Langers, I saw that Vitalik's going to keynote on the Staking Summit conference that you're speaking at. So hopefully you don't go right after him or right before him, but that looks pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think going straight after would probably be fine, because everyone would probably be there. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. As I said, I think for the Staking Summit, we're going full bore in terms of my presentation is about Saturn. So it's about Saturn 0, Saturn 1, Saturn 2, what it means to Rocket Pool, and it's awesome. So that's going to be really good. And again, something that we can hopefully bring people at going forward, as long as they have the stuff online. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and DevCon's always amazing. And as I said, it's a good time to check in. Actually, it really is a good time to check in with core devs and researchers and that sort of thing, to kind of get their thoughts on where things are going, because there's a lot of things moving around in the Ethereum, so it'd be good to make sure that we're on the pulse.
Yeah, excellent. May I have any thoughts from your point of view?
Just that, yeah, I would encourage people to let us know if you're going to be in Thailand. There is a poll up in the conferences channel. Just double checking there, yes. And we'll use the information there to coordinate a community meetup that hopefully as many people as possible can attend. And we'll have a bit more information on next week's call. So that's already queued up. You can check the event section for that. And yes, we'll have another guest on next week and the latest bi-weekly update. So hopefully see you guys there as well.
Yeah, perfect. I'm excited. I think we're probably less than 30 days away from a lot of things, right? I guess we're a week away from Saturn 0, and then just a little more than 3 weeks away from the Staking Summit, Langers presentation, then the Rocket Pool meetup, likely somewhere in there, and then of course DevCon, and There's just so much activity on Twitter regarding some very core changes to the Ethereum protocol. So I think it's going to be a very busy next 30 days. So buckle up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. All right. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything here. And again, congratulations to the NodeSet team and Gravita team here. It's looking like I'm seeing a lot of things being posted here, more mini pools being formed, more TLV being deposited. So everyone go and enjoy that a little bit here as that happens. And I'm looking forward to concluding this call and spinning up one of my NodeSet mini pools.
All right. Thank you, Ken.
All right. Talk to you all next week, folks.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Cheers, everybody.